Oh, it's here. Let's see what we got. Can y'all guess what it is? These are the custom-made spacers. BORA spacers is the brand name from Motorsport-Tech. I've used them over the years for many different custom car applications, never really for just a normal stock vehicle like this LX570, but they do amazing work. They will build stuff literally to your specifications. So one of the sets, several sets, because some other folks wanted them as well, so I had more made, that I had done was for an old 97 FCJ80 Land Cruiser. I wanted to put military Humvee beadlocks on there with the military Humvee 37-inch tires, and I wanted to actually use the entire Humvee assembly. And they made me custom CNC spacers to my exact specifications. They were hub-centric and lug-centric on the inside, so that they would ride true center, and on the outside they were, I think, hub and lug-centric, or maybe just lug-centric, whatever the Humvee wheels are supposed to have. And they fit up perfectly, no vibration, everything was perfect. A few other folks wanted them as well, so I ordered more sets for them. But if you're in the market for spacers, not just for off-road vehicles, for any kind of car, Motorsport-Tech is an amazing shop. And most people don't know, they custom make all of this stuff in-house. None of this is China made. It's all US made, custom. And they do beautiful anodizing work. If you want raw aluminum, they'll do that as well. All the hardware they include is top-notch. They have really good support after the fact, and it's a family-owned company. Doesn't get any better than that. Pull one of these out. So, let's see. This is 2 spacers, and this is the other 2. They just got them bolted together for shipping purposes to keep things from sliding around. And then on the inside, you can see the taper is different here versus here. So that taper there is going to allow the wheel to ride hub-centric. And this taper here, along with the chamfered edge, to make sure it goes on smoothly and never binds on anything, that is going to ride hub-centric on the actual vehicle, on the hub on the vehicle. So I'm going to go through and give you a full view of the truck here in a minute, so that you have a better idea of where everything fits, why, and what the tire sizes are I'm currently running, because they're not factory size. And we'll take lots of video and photos before and after, and hopefully it'll give you a good idea of what you want to do with yours. So I want to walk you through what the stock setup looks like right now without any spacers, and this is on the Michelin Defender 275 60 R20s. So these tires are slightly taller than stock, and they're slightly narrower than stock. And the reason I went with these is because I tow our boat often, and it's probably close to 8,000 pounds with boat and trailer, 8,100 maybe. And with the factory Latitude Tour HP Michelin tires, they were just far too squishy. Couldn't air them up enough to get the rear end to stop bouncing around whenever you hit a bump in the highway. These tires do extremely well. They drive very confidently when towing, when unloaded, just on family road trips. I highly recommend them. They did really well in snow last year. Do really well and surprisingly grippy even on gravel roads with a lot of loose rocks going uphill, downhill. Highly recommend them. But anyway, I wanted to let you know what the tire difference is so that the measurements make sense as you're looking at this. So the vehicle right now is in low. I got out, it went down, so it looks real low. And if we take, and this is the furthest out that the wheels are going to be as the vehicle rises, the front tires are going to again, that's just how the suspension works. And if you see, let me see if I can line up the camera right about there, we're a little over 1.5 inches tucked. So that's where everything sits with the factory setup, no spacers, and I'll do another walk around so you can get a feel for how it looks. Real slowly here, you see where the tires line up. See on this side where the tires line up. And I'm going to start the truck and put it in normal height mode and then high as well to give you a visual. Now we've got the truck in normal height. Let's do a full walk around. So that's normal height. So while you're driving around, this is the factory height that it's set to. Go. There's a look at this side. And I want to take a look at what we have for clearances. Now keep in mind these tires are ever so slightly taller than stock. So if you're on stock tires, you're going to have more space here. So right here, we've got just enough room. These tires do not rub right now. And here in the front, same. We've got just barely enough room. There's that 4 fingers worth of space. In the back, there should be plenty of room. Now we've got tons of room in the back. Let's check the other side. So this is the front passenger wheel well. 2.5 fingers worth of space here. A little more in the front. And again, the back, there's tons of space everywhere. So what I'm going to do is turn the steering wheel all the way to one side. And that way we can get an idea of where the front wheels will line up. And whether we're going to get some rubbing or not. So this is turned left, right? So the front, you're not going to have an issue with. The back is what we're going to be concerned about. And you can see there is, I don't know how well you can see in the video, but there is very little space there. It's not touching, but it's very close. It's probably about a little less than 1/4 inch of space. And even if the tire travels up and down, that's not going to rub there. So right now we're okay, but as soon as this wheel gets pushed outwards, you gotta consider that the radius that it turns on is going to be wider, so that is probably going to rub. How badly it's going to rub, I don't know. We'll find out when the spacers go on. And let's check this side with the front. So because the wheels turn to the left, the back on this side is fine. And we've actually got a lot of room here. I can fit my entire hand. But again, this may rub with the 1.25 inch spacers that are going to be going on here shortly. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. See if we need to trim anything. Maybe use a heat gun and push some of that plastic back. I'm going to turn the wheel to the other side. I know, not good to turn the wheel like that for the tires when the vehicle's not moving, but let's get through this quick as we can. So back, tons of space. Front, actually got a little more space here on the driver's side than the passenger side. Let's check the passenger side. Front's fine. And yeah, about the same. Just call it 1/4 inch. But this is plastic. All of this is plastic. And I bet if we heat it up enough, I can probably push it in if need be. So that's what all our clearances look like. And next thing I'm going to do is get the spacers put on. I'll show you how the spacers go on, best practices for putting them on. This is now the 6th or 7th vehicle I've used the Motorsport-Tech CNC machine spacers on. They're fantastic. I highly recommend them. I'll put a link down in the description. Call those guys, ask as many questions as you want. They're super helpful, family-owned business, made in the USA. You've got to wait a little while for them because they are custom made to your specs, but they are by far the best spacers you can buy on the market. I'm gonna get these spacers put on. I'll show you the whole process here in the video, as far as how they go on, what you should do for torque specs and everything else, and walk you through that, and then we'll look at all the measurements afterwards. So this is with the AHC set to high. So this is the highest it'll go, and if you're crawling around and you need some extra ground clearance, this is the setting you're going to put it on. And if it's not modified, if the AHC is not modified, as soon as you get up to, you know, normal speeds on a road, it'll lower back down to the normal setting. But this is high, and that's the look. Let's take a look at it from the front, kind of get an idea of where everything's sitting. And on this side, let me give you a peek from the back. So that's about where we're at. All right, so that's what everything looks like. First things first, get your tools ready. You're gonna want a nice heavy-duty jack that you know can lift the weight of your vehicle. Get yourself a torque wrench and a breaker bar. In my case, I have a breaker bar, and then I have a digital torque meter that I like to use. That way I've got a very accurate reading. If you're using a torque wrench that is built in to the breaker bar, have a separate breaker bar. Don't use your torque wrench to break your lugs loose. You're going to damage your torque wrench, and it would potentially not read correctly anymore later on down the line. You also want some sockets. These are my impact sockets. Just make sure you have the correct socket size for your wheel lugs, and if you have one, use it, an impact gun. I like to use it to break them loose and then get the lug spun back on. That way I'm not spending a ton of time doing that by hand. If you don't have it, just use your breaker bar. I changed my mind. It was too tight in the garage. Pulled the truck out on the driveway, even though it's kind of cold today. And I'm going to start with the front. So we'll start with the front two, and then we'll move on to the back. Got the front jacked up, just enough to get the tire off the ground. I don't want it way up in the air. Got a jack stand under the frame rail as well. Now we're going to get the lugs off and go from there. Find the slot in your center cap right there. Put a flathead in there. Pop that off. You don't want to damage that with your tools. You can see somebody at some point put some sockets in there and rubbed up against the center cap. No big deal, but pop it off. That way you don't damage it. Then if you have a locking lug, start with that one. Make sure you can get it off. Once that's off, then work on the rest. Now that you've got that wheel off, put it aside. Grab your first spacer. Obviously the studs go outwards, and line it up. And just to be safe, make certain that the center fits snugly around your actual hub. That's what centers the spacer, and if you're using OEM wheels, that's what you should be using, is hub-centric wheels. Even if you have aftermarket wheels, always get hub-centric wheels or a hub-centric ring adapter for the wheels that you're going to be using. That way you lessen the risk of vibration or anything else with the wheel sitting off center. Now that we got this on, we're going to get the little acorn lugs that came with the spacer. Those are the ones that are going to go in here, and the factory lugs are the ones that are going to go on these studs to hold the wheel in place. So I'm going to go ahead and get these on. Then we're going to torque these down, and I'll tell you what the torque specs are here in a second. So we've got the lugs on here, they're hand tight. Next thing you want to do is torque them down. Now, on an LX570, the torque specs are 95 foot-pounds, and you want to do it in a crisscross pattern. Let me show you. Here, 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 then go back for a second round, here, 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 and then go back through a third round. Make sure your torque specs are correct. Then when the wheel goes on, your torque specs are going to be based on the wheel plus the vehicle you're putting the wheel on. Some wheels require more torque, some require less torque. Again, stock wheels on a stock LX570, so we're going with the manufacturer spec, 95 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead and get all that on, get it torqued on. I'll throw the wheel on and let's see how it looks. Those are all torqued down. With these being aluminum, aluminum is a softer metal. So after about the first, I'd say 500 miles or so, what I like to do is pull the wheels back off and re-torque these. Essentially loosen them a little bit and then turn them back in and tighten them up again to the torque specs. So it's up to you. A lot of people just leave them on, don't bother with it. Me personally, I like to double, triple, and quadruple check everything. So after about 500 miles, I'm going to pull the wheels off and re-torque these lugs that hold the spacer to the hub. So next, let's get the wheel on. Wheel is back on. Everything is torqued down to 95 foot-pounds. I'm going to pull the jack stand out, gently lower the truck, and let's see how all of it looks. I'm really excited to show you guys this. It looks so good. First, let me show you the old side, just as a refresher. There's that, right? Let's get a good view of it from the side, from the top, from the front. And this is the truck in low, as it's parked, and the easy entry option is selected, so it's in low. And there is this one. That's how this thing should have come from the factory. Let me put the cap back on real quick. There we go. Now, Mr. Toyota, if you had just done this from the factory, move some of this plastic back a little bit, another ½ inch, move some of this plastic forward a ½ inch, everything would be fine. No rubbing, no dealing with trying to figure out how to fit it all. But damn, this looks good. This is perfect. I'm very happy. So this is the 1 1/4 inch spacer. I did a lot of measuring before I ordered these, and I was hoping everything would fit up how I intended, and that looks perfect. And obviously the other tires still need to be done. So I'm not going to bother boring you with video of the other 3 tires being switched out, or the wheels with the spacers. I'm going to go ahead and put those on, and then we'll do a visual of the before and after. Before I go to do the rest, I really wanted to show you the view from the back as well. Tucked with spacer. And let's check out the other side. Without spacer. Right? And with spacer. I don't know how well you can see it in the video, but this looks fantastic. Front driver's side before, front driver's side after, rear driver's side before, rear driver's side after, rear passenger side before, rear passenger side after. Now here's the whole view of after the spacers went on. Nice flush fit. It is essentially right at the fender. Same with the back. And you're still behind the mud flaps, so you're not throwing dirt everywhere. Look how nicely that fits. Oh, that's a beautiful fit. This will look nice once the truck is all cleaned up. So this is in low. Let me get a shot in normal height and high. This is normal height. It's a normal running height while you're driving around. Looks like it's still adjusting a little bit. There it is. It just stopped. So that's normal operating height. Looks pretty good. And finally, this is high. And overall, looks really good. Nice and flush with the fenders. I'm really happy with the end result here. Looks fantastic. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm also going to put it back in normal, do clock to clock on the steering wheel, and let's take a look at the clearances and if anything looks like it's going to rub. But while you're watching, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. Our assistant Aiden's going to help us here. Aiden, you ready? All right, so what I need you to do is turn the steering wheel all the way that way. Yes, good job. There you go, that's it. Hold it there. You ready? All right, so we've got, obviously, wheels turn that way, so tons of clearance here. Man, surprisingly, it's not touching. You see the car adjusting the height there. That's why the car was going up. But it's not touching. I've got probably 1/8 of a millimeter, but you know, over bumps and things, I could see how that would hit. Let's go check the other side. All right. That's definitely touching. Right there in the corner, you can see the little rub mark right there, so it's rubbing right across that piece. I might have to try to heat that up with a heat gun and push it in a little bit. Easy to do. All right, Aiden, go ahead and turn it the other way. All right, let's check this out. It's not touching, just like the other side. I've got probably 1/8 of an inch. Well, let's check the other side here. And just like on the other side, it is rubbing just a little bit right there. But, you know, I think in addition to putting some heat on this and pushing it back, I'm probably going to do a little bit in the front as well. And we'll see how it turns out. I'm going to go take it for a quick test drive. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and this was useful for you to decide whether you want to put spacers on your Land Cruiser or LX570. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Check out the other videos in the playlist. There's tons of really good Land Cruiser content. And if you have any comments, questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm always happy to help. Love you guys. See you next time. Say bye, Aiden. While I'm putting my tools away, I remembered one more thing that I see often on the forums and people asking about Loctite. No, absolutely not. Do not put Loctite on the lugs from the factory hub to the spacer, and then no on the lugs from the spacer to the wheel as well. I know some people like to do that because they think, oh, it might loosen up. Absolutely not. Don't do that. You will never, ever, ever get them off. And then when it's time to do brakes next time, you're going to hate yourself. You're going to have to drill all those out, cut them out, heat them up, hoping they might come out. No Loctite. Tell them, Aiden.
No Loctite.
No Loctite. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.